You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Well, hello. Back so soon? Actually, it's me that's back a little sooner than a week. I decided to do a little bonus episode because I did not want to wait a full week to discuss this topic with everyone. So, I hope everyone's well. I hope that the weather is nice where you are. I know there have been storms and it is spring, and that is what happens in the spring, but we also get beautiful sunny days too. And it reminds me why this is my favorite time of year. What I want to talk to you about is comparing the despair during a pandemic. Now, this is something that we do. Compare and despair is something that we do all the time anyway. And I think that what I'm seeing now is a little bit different and maybe a little heightened during our current times. And that's why I wanted to do a special episode on this. But as I talk about this concept, I do want you to keep in mind that it is certainly something that our brains just do automatically all the time. So you may or may not have heard this term before, but when we say compare and despair, we are using it to highlight how comparing ourselves to others only results in our own despair. Because we can never have exactly the same life experience as someone else. And this is usually someone we admire and want to be like. Compare yourself to that person, and you will surely despair when you realize that's unattainable, that you cannot be that person, have that person's life, and otherwise embody everything that you admire about them. So that's what it means to compare and despair anytime. And many of us should know this by now, but it doesn't always stop us from trying anyway, the comparing and the despairing. But what truly causes that despair? By now, if you've been listening, you should know it's your thoughts. You should also know that it takes continuous practice to separate those thoughts from circumstance. As a reminder, I'm showing you your power here, so feel free to review the first 2 episodes again if you need to, where I go deeper into thoughts and circumstances, because they both come into play here. I also want to talk about grief and despair today, because it's something that we're all going through on some level with the events that are surrounding COVID-19 and its impact on us. It's important to acknowledge all of your emotions and know that your feelings are valid. There's a reason why I changed it up to compare the despair. I've seen a lot of social media posts over the past week, which is why I want to address it now as that bonus episode, not wait any further. Over the past week or so, all media has really been shining the light on those in the medical field as our heroes, and they are, no doubt. They're putting their lives on the line to do exactly what they signed up to do, and that is to save the lives of others. And it can certainly be perceived by many as a selfless and often thankless profession on any day. But what I also see on social media are the horror stories related to this field and what they're going through now. So, don't you dare complain about being cooped up in the house or having to social distance, missing that concert, that business event, your vacation or kid's birthday party, your own party not happening, or how stressed you are about homeschooling, not being able to find hand soap or toilet paper or anything really, don't you dare complain. Just stay home and shut the fuck up. Be thankful that you aren't on the front lines with the first responders and the medical personnel. They are exhausted and traumatized in a way that you can never begin to understand. That's the message, isn't it? So that last part wasn't necessarily me speaking, but that is the overriding theme that I'm seeing throughout media, throughout all media. Suck it up, be quiet, don't complain. When every fiber of your being is screaming that this isn't normal. This isn't real life. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Real life is getting out and being seen in the real world, like having lunch with friends, interacting in person, making random trips to Target or the local craft store, a grueling commute to your lovely non-essential job. Hello? All of the things we've taken for granted. The things that we assign our very freedom to, our identity, the circumstances. Target, craft store, grocery store, leaving home, all circumstances. But today, everywhere you turn, you are inundated with shame. On social media, in person, I've seen people post about others meeting in the Walmart parking lot, for example. They post pictures that say, "This is not social distancing." Who are these people? Shame, shame. Shame, right? They post about people in their neighborhood. Wait, they're walking too close. No, you cannot have play dates. Back the fuck away from that playground, Becky. Yes, the playgrounds are closed. This week I've seen the signs, the actual signs posted that the playground is closed. Some even have caution tape wrapped around the equipment. And it's a sad sight to see, isn't it? And I get it. I really do. I mean, I'm talking to the moms who quite suddenly found themselves confined in their homes with toddlers and school-aged children, and they're trying to balance work and schooling, thrust into homeschooling, exhausted at their wits' end, trying to manage their homes at the same time. And, some may have already been stay-at-home moms to begin with, but let's face it, that in itself is a full-time job. And for the stay-at-home moms, I mean, she has probably had outlets throughout the day, such as childcare, learning and development from another source, not just from her. Support systems that are now 100% virtual. If you have a leader who is showing you the way on that front, you have also those moms who go to work daily and her daughters or sons go to school. And then there are all the activities, the sports and the arts after, and it's go, go, go. And now it's suddenly not go, go, go. But it's come to a screeching halt. And there are several more hours in the day to interact, yet that interaction is stressful because talking about work-life balance, that concept, work-life balance, what comes first? It's always the work in that phrase. And my husband and I have had many a conversation about this work-life balance and, what a bunch of BS that is, to be honest, because let's face it, we want the work to come first, we being the employers, and, we even come to expect that of ourselves, right? Work hard, play hard. Work comes first. And as cute as it is to have your toddlers or your pets show up on a conference call, on a video conference, it's also horrifying because there are no more boundaries between this life and that one. And we're used to having those boundaries. Now we have the kids at home and we've been thrust into the world of homeschooling. The spouse is at home, suddenly find out that we're married to the let's circle back guy. So funny. The whole Twitter feed on that one, on who are you married to? You find out that person at work who you're actually married to. We're finding those things out. It's fun times. But that's why there's this new concept of work-life integration from thought leaders. How can we integrate during this time? And we are doing it. It's not just how can we do it? We are being thrust into work-life integration. And I'll talk more about that at another time. I want to come back to this compare and despair world. But we have all these thoughts about what's going on with our new normal, our temporary normal. Maybe you have a boss that you don't have the best relationship with and you're feeling vulnerable and exposed at showing your messy kitchen table as your new home office on a video conference. I mean, we all have thoughts about how do we get back to what we know, the mundane, the reality. When do we get back to it? The circumstances that are beyond our control. We find ourselves grasping for normalcy. What is one thing we can do right now that is safe, yet also be free from the judgment of others? And I think that for many of us, we're finding that nothing, not one thing that we can do right now that is safe and free from judgment of others. I mean, that's how it seems. It's like we have to position ourselves to find a safe place to complain, but there is no safe place, is there? Because it's all comparing the despair. Your angst is not the same as mine. If I'm an essential worker, you have no idea what I'm going through. And some of these essential workers didn't see themselves as such before. The healthcare industry, first responders, EMS, fire, police, yes, they signed up for that. They didn't sign up to be in the spotlight. They didn't sign up to be away from their families now more than ever. They didn't sign up to have to decontaminate themselves before they entered their home. Also, neither did the grocery store workers and those who stock the shelves, those who work at drugstores or convenience stores, liquor stores. You know, where I am, liquor stores are essential services. And I believe they are in most places. So I see the anguish and I see the frustration. And it's coming from a place of, you don't know my story. Of course not. No. No one else can understand what you're going through. But it's important to remember that this isn't a game of compare and despair. Comparing the despair. While the first responders get all of the press right now, and I mean on social media too, I get it, and they should absolutely have all of the accolades and all of the attention, but I want to remind all of you out there who are struggling also that I see you, and it's all valid. It's okay to feel a sense of loss, even if it's only, and I'm using air quotes here, I know you can't see me, but even if it's only because your life has been turned upside down. And you think, I don't do well with change, with uncertainty. Well, guess what? None of us do, really. We all want to just wake up and not enjoy the routine of our mundane lives. Can we just go back to complaining about our daily routines, please? We want that because normal, whatever we have come to know it means, normal feels safe. There's comfort in that. And it's okay to grieve the loss of life as you knew it. Even if you're approaching it from, okay, this is just a point in time. This is just this moment in time. I think we all also are looking at it from a place of, how long is this going to go on? Even when the stay-at-home orders have been lifted, what is our world going to look like then? And it's okay to be in a place of grief in that area. It's okay to be sad because you had a wedding plan, a baby shower, a graduation. It's okay if you're trying to raise your hand and say, hey, I have a fifth grader who was looking forward to some kind of transition ceremony from life as an elementary school student, because that's all he or she has known up to this point in their lives. It's also okay to admit that really that was all for you. And you wanted those ceremonies and those rituals and those things. You wanted those memories and those pictures. to post on social media or to put in your scrapbook. I just think social media for a lot of us has become our scrapbook. I know it has for me. It's okay. And when others try to shame you and say that your pain isn't real, your frustration isn't valid, you just need to be quiet, stay home, shut the fuck up, because you aren't on the front lines, you can remind yourself that you are indeed on the front lines of your life, that you can create your own reality. And when someone else responds to your post about high school seniors missing prom ceremonies, all of the things, with something like, well, 40 years ago, the senior trip was to Vietnam, then let that go, because that's someone else's story. It isn't yours. We don't have to compare the despair. This life of ours is not a game in the sense that it's not who can rack up the most points in regard to merit, because, hey, it's all subjective anyway. That's someone else's thoughts and circumstances beyond your control, beyond that person that posted that response and beyond your control. The war in Vietnam was a circumstance. The fact that some kids tragically took their senior trip to Vietnam was a circumstance, and it is not comparable. We don't have to compare our despair, and we're not moving pieces across a board and winning or losing. That's all subjective too. At any given time, we're winning or losing based on our thoughts. This is no different. I need you to see that today. I need you to know that I see you, and that you don't need validation from the masses to grieve your losses. This is not a game of compare the despair. Mine is greater than yours. You're allowed to grieve your losses. You're allowed to feel sad, angry, frustrated, lost, confused, all of those things. You are certainly allowed to feel vulnerable and post your thoughts, but know that you may not always get the responses you're seeking. And that's what I was referring to earlier. And I said, where's that safe place? Where's that safe place I can go where people will validate and support what I'm going through right now? Know that when you do that and when you get vulnerable, you may not get the confirmation that you're looking for. It may feel like a pack attack. But again, that's also any day. Feel free to remind yourself of that much. It's like we don't set aside our instinctual moments to pounce at each other because we're in a pandemic. We don't actually set that aside. As a matter of fact, as I said, in some ways it seems a little heightened even. So the best way through this is to hold yourself, honor your pain, love yourself, know that you are worthy, your feelings are valid. You're allowed to grieve the loss of life as you know it, even if it's only temporary. Acknowledge that. Sink into it. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks, because it's not something you can control. What they think and how they process anything in their brains, anything that you say, how they process it is beyond your control. And above all else, and this is what I really want you to take away from this episode, know that all of your feelings right now are okay. They are here for you and you alone to learn and to grow from, not to compare to those of others, not to compare the despair. This isn't a competition. No one wins that game. However, if what you win is a greater understanding of yourself, that is worth more than any competition out there. Coming out with this on the other side of a pandemic, stronger than you were when you entered, that will be the growth. Whatever that means to you, whatever that looks like for you, that will be the win. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I am Sunny the Life Coach. You have been listening to Light the Fuck Up, and you can find out more out me at sunnythelifecoach.com. I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Shine on.